The latest news, and it's big, coming out of Nigeria is the case involving Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB. This trial has been ongoing for a while now, and today we're looking at a significant twist. The court has just given him a final subsidies opportunity to open his defense. The judge has said that November 7th, 2025, as the deadline for Kanu to start presenting his case or face the possible closure of his defense. If you're still with me, hit that like button if you're following the case, and often subscribe for more updates. Now, for those of you who may not know the full backstory, let's quickly touch on why this case is so important and why it's got everyone talking. Nnamdi Kanu was arrested in Amosantidi 2021 on the charges of terrorism and for leading an unlawful organization, IPOB. IPOB is a separatist group that advocates for the creation of the Republic of Biafra, a move that has created serious tension in Nigeria, particularly in the southeast cities of the country. Kanu's arrest in Kenya, his subsequent extradition to Nigeria, and the ongoing trial have been the focal point of political and legal debates in the country. So, where are we now? Kanu has been in detention for over 2 years, and this trial has had numerous delays. The case has been pushed around the courts, and a lot of people are starting to question how long the process will take and whether justice will actually be served in the way it's supposed to. The judge, in this case, James Omotosho, has been clear. Kanu has been given enough time to prepare his defense, but if he doesn't act now, the case could move towards closure. This means that if Kanu fails to mount his defense by November 7th, the court might decide to end the trial, essentially ruling on the case without hearing from Kanu. This is where things get interesting. Kanu has been rejecting the charges leveled against him. He argues that the law under which he is being prosecuted, the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022, is invalid. Kanu's legal team, which he claims is no longer actively representing him, believes the law has been repealed or is otherwise non-existent. This has led to confusion and frustration, both on the prosecution side and the defense side. Kanu himself is now representing himself in court, a decision that might seem unusual for someone facing such serious charges. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. He's also brought in 4 consultants to help him with his case. For the prosecution, this latest extension is frustrating. Kanu has already used up 5 out of the 6 allotted days for his defense, and the prosecution is pushing hard for the case to move forward. They want the court to close Kanu's defense, especially since they believe he's not willing to cooperate with the trial. The federal government, and specifically the justice system, are under pressure to ensure the trial is fair but also timely. The court, despite these delays, seems to be giving Kanu the benefit of the doubt. One last chance to defend himself. But will Kanu use it? Now let's talk about the bigger implications of this case. It's not just about one man standing trial for alleged terrorism. It's about the message it sends about the rule of law in Nigeria. If the court moves to close the case based on Kanu's failure to mount a defense, it raises some serious questions about the fairness of the trial process. For one, what happens if Kanu's legal team really does believe that the law under which he's charged is invalid? Could this be a loophole that ultimately saves him? Or will the court decide that despite Kanu's arguments, he needs to face the music? This case is also a political flashpoint. Kanu is seen by many in the southeastern region of Nigeria as a hero who is standing up for the rights of his people. On the other hand, the Nigerian government sees him as a terrorist, a person who has been stoking violence and division in the country. The way this case plays out could have deep repercussions for the relationship between the federal government and the people of the Southeast. If Kanu is acquitted or given a lighter sentence, it could embolden other separatist movements in Nigeria. If he is found guilty, it could reinforce the government's stance on cracking down on groups like IPOB. And don't forget the solar international angle shows. Here, Kanu's case has attracted global attention. Human rights groups, especially in the West, have raised concerns about his treatment and whether he's getting a fair trial. There's even been international pressure on the Nigerian government to ensure that Kanu's rights are respected. If the trial doesn't proceed properly, we could see more condemnation from outside the country, which could lead to increased diplomatic tension. But this doesn't end with Kanu alone. This case touches on broader issues related to justice, the human rights, and separatism. In Nigeria, the question is, how will the country handle movements that seek to break away from the union? Will the justice system be able to balance the scales of justice for groups like IPOB while also maintaining national security and unity? It's a tough question, and the outcome of Kanu's case could set a significant precedent for how these kinds of trials are handled moving forward. As we wait for November 7, a lot hinges on whether Kanu will actually take the opportunity to defend himself, or if the court will decide to move on with the case without his defense. The truth is, this trial could be a turning point for both Kanu's future and for the larger question of how Nigeria handles separatist movements. One thing to consider here is the ample political fallout that could occur no matter which way the court rules. If the government and the judiciary move forward with this case, it could be seen as a crackdown on dissent. Many in the Southeast already feel marginalized by the federal government, and a harsh ruling against Kanu could only fuel further division. There's a sense that Kanu represents more than just himself. He's become a symbol of the struggle for the Biafran people. But there's also a counter-argument. If Kanu is allowed to get away with not defending himself or questioning the law, it could be a dangerous precedent for Nigeria's justice system. Could this case open the door for other individuals or groups to challenge laws they don't like, leading to even more instability? It's interesting because in these types of high-stakes cases, the full public perception at present often plays just as big a role as the legal arguments. The case itself is almost secondary to the public's reaction. It's about the symbolism. For some, Kanu is a freedom fighter, while for others, he's a criminal. This divide could escalate tensions, especially as Nigeria's political climate becomes more volatile. So, how the government chooses to handle this case, and whether they allow Kanu to defend himself fully, could impact national unity in ways we might not even fully understand yet. And of course, we can't ignore the international attention on the matter. Human rights organizations, both local and international, have been keeping a close eye on the case. They've been vocal about concerns surrounding Kanu's detention conditions and the fairness of his trial. With Nigeria already under scrutiny for other human rights issues, how this case is handled will be critical in shaping how the world views the country's commitment to the rule of law. If we look at the bigger picture, what we're really seeing here is a test of the legal system's credibility. The question is, can Nigeria's judiciary stand firm in the face of political pressure, while still ensuring that the rights of defendants are protected? If Kanu's case is mishandled, or if it's perceived that the court is being political rather than legal, that could set off a chain of reactions that affect the country for years to come. We've seen similar cases in other countries where political trials end up being more about the public's perception of justice than the actual legal process. In some places, these trials have led to national unrest and civil disobedience. While Nigeria's situation is unique, the stakes are just as high. Kanu's trial is as much about the broader fight for justice as it is about one man's personal freedom. As we draw closer to November 7th, there are several possible outcomes, and each one will be significant in its own way. For one, if Kanu chooses to defend himself, we could see more delays, more legal arguments, and more drama in the courtroom. If he doesn't, the case could swiftly move to its next stage, and we might see a verdict sooner than expected. Ultimately, the case is about more than just Nnamdi Kanu. It's about the right to be heard, the right to a fair trial, and the sheer future of Nigeria's democracy. This is a case that is not only being followed in Nigeria, but across the globe. What happens here could have long-term consequences, and we all have to wait and see how it unfolds. So, before I wrap up, let's go back to you, the audience. How do you think the trial will unfold? Will Kanu defend himself, or will the court close his case? What do you think this means for the future of IPOB and Dikul, Nigeria's political stability? If Kanu does get his chance to defend himself on November 7th, we can expect more courtroom drama, more legal back and forth, and possibly more delays. But the clock is ticking. Kanu's fate could be decided soon, and Nigeria could be facing a turning point in how it deals with separatism, terrorism, and the rule of law. So here's the thing. Kanu has until November 7th to open his defense. If he fails, the court could decide that the case is over and a verdict could follow quickly. What do you think will happen? Will Kanu present his case, or will he risk having the court close the trial? We'll be watching closely. And with that, don't forget to hit the jump like button if you're following this story, and subscribe Somfat for more updates. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think will happen on November 7th. Do you think Kanu will get his chance to speak? Will the court move forward with a verdict? And what does this case mean for Nigeria's future? I'll be in the comments responding to all your thoughts. Thank you for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next video.